Rumors, setbacks, and conspiracies have always surrounded the Marvel Cinematic Universe, one of the biggest entertainment franchises on the planet, but has not restricted the enterprise from establishing a steel forged legacy. With millions and millions of fans with incredibly high expectations from around the globe, there's an immense pressure on Marvel to deliver and sustain their growth. I, Kunwar Thapar, would like to invite my fellow comic buff, Mihir Rohatgi, to participate in this podcast with the intention to discuss Marvel's future prospects. So, hi Mihir, how are you doing? Please, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a third year student at the University of Manchester. I just finished my bachelor's degree. And yeah, I feel like my personality really has two dimensions to it, I guess. One of them is just music. I love producing music. Um, and I just love everything surrounding music. And then I love Marvel movies. The MCU has been close to my heart ever since I was a kid. I still remember watching Iron Man when it came out in 2008 with my brother at Ambience Mall in Gurgaon. I remember watching that. I also remember watching the first Avengers that came out. So I don't know, it's just there've been these important moments in my life that have been connected to the MCU. So yeah, I've grown up with it. And also I feel like in terms of my introduction to Marvel, I feel like this is kind of the same for me and you and for so many other people. What's the first superhero we were introduced to? Spider-Man, right?
Right.
He's arguably
Toby
the
Maguire.
the most iconic, not even Toby, but like even in just like bro, you're a kid and the first thing you want to do is you want to be Spider-Man, you want to try and do the web action and stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah, Spidey was my first superhero even before Superman and Batman and those guys. So I don't know, I just felt like there was that connection, and especially in terms of Spidey, in terms of Peter Parker, like the character is like it's so relatable, isn't it? Like
Right.
he's just
I feel
a
most of
kid
us were,
struggling.
hmm, I feel most of us were like inclined towards Spider-Man and Peter Parker, but because first of all, he's a teenager. And
Yeah.
like most of us were young adults when we came across Peter Parker, Spider-Man. And that makes it so much more relatable because instead of handling those, third world problems about
Yeah.
world peace, he was just your neighborhood Spider-Man. He was concerned about his assignments, he had a crush and whatnot. So these were problems, these daily encounters were very relatable. And if not relatable, these were some things we were looking forward to as young adults.
Yeah, I was gonna say just the whole thing about the problems. It's like that's so true to me. Like if you compare like even Clark Kent, even though he's kind of relatable as Superman, he has issues with like finding a job and stuff like that, which again is relatable. But as a child, he has a Peter has like a crush on Mary Jane, and he's just this awkward kid in class. So I don't know. I feel like it's like the perfect
Hmm.
connection for young kids everywhere. So yeah.
Absolutely. And Mihir, I understand that you're a global citizen. And
Mhm.
unlike most Indian teenagers, you don't have the typical Indian approach towards Marvel cinema because Marvel wasn't just introduced to you, say in 2008, maybe when Iron Man came out, but you've been into
Mhm.
comics, you've moved around the world. I believe you've been relocated a lot.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
do you think because of your exposure to the Western world, it has somehow influenced how you perceive Marvel or what's your looking at Marvel from a
Yeah.
global point of view and not just an Indian point of view?
I think the main thing has been that, obviously being exposed to like global cultures and stuff like that. If anything, it's made me appreciate the MCU even more because I can see because obviously when you're in India, you obviously know that, everyone around you obviously loves the MCU. The only thing online, the only presence of that appreciation you can see is online. But,
Right.
I've been fortunate enough to be in all these different countries, and it's just the same everywhere, which is crazy how that like unites everyone. um yeah, I just feel like it's universal even though the movies are in English. I feel
Mhm.
like the love for it and everything is universal. And also I feel like each different location has their own like specific areas of emphasis. So for example, I was in Kenya for 2 years,
Hmm.
and over there I remember watching Black Panther
Hmm.
with with an all black audience was absolutely amazing. But what was really surprising to me was how much they loved the score of that movie, which is not something, you know, the casual cinema goer really, you know, puts emphasizes that much. But over there everyone was like, I remember everyone was like bopping to the score, because it's, that score is amazing. It's like,
You know, that
you know,
is
hip
so
hop beats.
relatable. That is so relatable because I just finished writing an article about Hans Zimmer, and I was
Mm,
talking about his work in the movies, though he has not worked on Black
Marvel.
Panther, but he has contributed to multiple other Marvel flicks. But you're absolutely right because if you look at Black Panther, he
Mm,
and unfortunately we lost Chadwick. But if you talk about Black Panther, I believe he's being idolized. He has empowered suppressed people around the world, and instead of just looking at him as a superhero, because see, every person, every personality, they have their pros and cons. Okay, the good comes with a little bit of bad. It's like, you
yeah.
know, a pinch of salt.
Hmm.
But at the same time, in spite of T'Challa's, you know, I would say, I wouldn't call them negative traits, but whatever shortcomings he had, he
Mm.
has empowered the character, and the actor who played it has empowered the whole idea of having a Black Panther, a leader. He has empowered people around the world, and it's changed the perspective of you know, looking at a third world country. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's the first time really people could, you know, young black and brown kids all over the world could look, could leave the cinema and be like, whoa, that guy T'Challa was like me, you know. He was like me. And you know, you couldn't really say that. It's like, as much as I can relate to Peter Parker, he's a white kid from Queens in New
From
York
Queens,
City.
yes, exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. I think that's just great. And even, and you can see that trend is also continuing in terms
Shang-Chi.
of Shang-Chi. Exactly.
Yes,
Shang-Chi
though the
got in
Asian
the.
community is not considered a minority, but considering this movie is being produced in America right now, it's under Marvel, and
Mhm.
how Simu actually scored the role,
Yeah,
I feel it feels like the minorities in terms of American movies are now
absolutely.
being represented well, and you know, maybe in not so distant future we'll come across an Indian superhero in the Marvel.
Hopefully. We're actually pretty close because I don't know if you checked out the trailer for Eternals, but Kumail Nanjiani is in it.
Kumail,
And
yes.
also,
And even
and
I can't remember the name of the actor, but the person who plays Ibu Atela was there. So just having
oh
some
really?
representation, maybe not a
Yeah.
superhero, but having some representation of our ethnicity and people from our country, people from our, I would say, cinema industry. It feels good. It feels more
Yeah.
inclusive.
And also the great thing about Kumail is his character in the Eternals. So obviously he's one of the superheroes, but his character in Eternals, his side gig is being a Bollywood superstar.
Oh,
So
damn. I
he's a
had no
Bollywood
idea.
acting. Yeah, so if you see the trailer, there's these shots of you know, he's on a Bollywood set doing dances and stuff, and you can see some Indian weddings happening, and there's like a fat Indian videographer with him at all times for some behind the scenes documentary within the movie. So I just think that's really amazing, and I'm so excited to see um that, you know, play out. I mean, we have seen you know, Indian settings in some of, in quite a few MCU movies. One really nice one that I liked was in Spider-Man Homecoming, when Tony Stark, when Spidey first
Tamil Nadu, if
encounters the
I'm not
Vulture.
wrong.
Yeah, he's at a wedding, he's at a wedding in Tamil Nadu or whatever, and he's just chilling in his limo, and you know, he's drinking like chai, and there's like these bhabis going around in their saris, and he's just like, oh sorry, I'm talking to a teenager on the phone. And yeah, it's just, that was just
It's
great.
fun.
I love that.
It's all in good sport. But yeah,
Yeah.
coming back to Marvel, I feel we're
Mm.
like digressing at the very beginning of our podcast, and I don't know because we are two very passionate people when it comes to
That
Marvel
always
cinema in
happens with me.
general, and you and I, we share a very, I would say, brotherly bond. So we can
Yeah.
go blabbering about this stuff. But yeah, coming back to the topic, because we have a
Mhm.
purpose to fulfill. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Marvel. And when I say Marvel, how do you think Marvel is going to progress? Because something which has been very prominently established during the pandemic is streaming platforms. You've
Yeah.
seen Netflix go up, though Netflix was a big thing already. You've seen Prime boom like anything. And now that Hotstar is Disney Hotstar Plus, and Marvel might be one of those very few entities that now have an established platform exclusively for them. Like, because if I wanted to watch a Fast and Furious movie, for example, I had to look through all the platforms or maybe Google search which of these streaming online, online streaming platforms is offering the that particular movie in my country. But when it
Mhm.
comes to Marvel, it's Disney all day long. And how do you think this collaboration or this, Disney acquiring this whole platform, how is that going to help Marvel? Because we've
I
seen
think
some
you
major
said it
changes.
there. Yeah, I think you mentioned this one word that perfectly defines it. It's about being exclusive.
Hmm.
Like you said, you can find the Fast and the Furious movies, or even some of the DC movies you can find anywhere, but Disney Plus is that one specific place for Marvel, but also everything Disney, which I think is great. But also in terms of like the viewing experience, I think it's amazing because there's no other website that arranges all the MCU installments in whatever order you want. There's a chronological order or the
Yeah, they're
specific
listed
timeline
phase
order.
wise.
Yeah, exactly, phase wise as well. And not only that, but you can on Disney Plus you can find extras and behind the scenes videos below
Absolutely,
each movie.
absolutely. You can
Mhm.
find franchises that are still not included, or like the older flicks that haven't been included in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like the old X-Men. Now we've been teased,
Yeah,
if I'm not wrong, they have teased the new Fantastic Four movie as well.
yeah,
But
Fantastic
there have
Four.
been
Yeah, yeah,
two old Fantastic Four movies, so you can find that on Hotstar, and you
yeah,
have all the X-Men movies, all of them, every single one of them,
yeah.
and there are quite a few. So that feels great. But one specific question I would like to address. See,
Hmm.
when it comes to Marvel, we are used to waiting for a year, pre-booking our tickets and making plans with our friends, sharing Instagram stories for that 3 hour movie at max. 3 hour, maybe 3.5 hours if you're considering Endgame. But
Yeah.
now something that was being anticipated for so long, now that Steve Rogers has put down the mantle as Captain America, and we
Hmm.
have the Falcon who's going to take
Hmm.
up his job, and we were expecting a movie. Honestly, I was, and I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fanatic, because I'm great, I'm extremely lazy, so I
Yeah.
often fail to follow the latest updates and everything. And
Yeah.
I was I was expecting a movie, but instead I got a whole series. And I, as a consumer, it's difficult for me to, form that continuity and the relatability. I'm not used
Hmm.
to watching Marvel shows. In spite of having watched every single Marvel movie till date, I haven't watched Agent Carter. I haven't watched Agents of Shield, because I just can't, find the time for it. I can't, establish the continuity. So
Hmm.
what's your take on that?
I think, although I do understand that it is a bigger commitment to sit through a series than with a movie, I just think it opens up this unique opportunity for Marvel to tell stories in a way that they couldn't have with a movie. Like, for example, the perfect example for this, I think, is WandaVision. I don't know if you've seen the whole series, but that show could never ever have been a good movie because the material is just
Definitely.
too rich. It's basically about Wanda going crazy and she has a burst of this dark energy that takes over this town, and there's fluctuations in time. So the settings change according to each era, and I feel like although that could have been done in a movie, I feel like it wouldn't have
Done
had the
justice.
same impact.
The
it,
same
it would have
impact,
been
right?
rushed. So I think it opens up a great opportunity for Marvel. Like all these series, I'm so excited to see these series just because there's no time limit. You know what I mean? Like yeah, it's a little, you do have rough guidelines of, how many minutes, but also it's so much longer, and the fact that you have the same budget means that, the quality of CGI, the quality of writing and everything is going to stay the same. So I personally think that there is that continuity that I can see, and yeah, I don't know. I'm really fond of it.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't believe Marvel is ever going to compromise when it comes to the
Mm,
quality of the resources they're providing for these, franchises. But I have a question. See,
mm,
you might be able to sit through a 3.5 hour long movie, but sometimes, and because it's not a sitcom, uh, it's not going to have, you don't have continuity issues because every single time, if you watch Friends or you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like
yeah.
majorly they have a new plot line in every episode, but over here you have to religiously follow, you have to look for those intricate details.
Mm.
And don't you think that maybe because it's just a little more taxing, it gets slightly monotonous at
I think it depends on the way you look at it, right? So, for example, like I look at Brooklyn Nine-Nine, for example, in a completely different way than I do WandaVision, because although it is technically, a series, the way I look at it is an extended movie,
right.
So first of all, I feel like I should have said that before, but I feel like uh, at the start, I don't look at it as a Disney Plus series. That's for me, that's just a formality. That's just the name of it. But I actually look at it as a extended Marvel movie, even longer than Endgame. So I feel like in that sense, I don't really care about, sticking to this one storyline. And I mean, in terms of it feeling monotonous, I feel like that just depends on the filmmaker. I feel like you can do it very well even in a long period of time. And there's so much stuff happening that it never really felt boring. Like for WandaVision, for example, that never, not for 1 second, did that show feel boring to me. First two episodes, I was a bit confused, as were
Yeah, so
you.
was I. So
I
was I.
remember.
Because the
Yeah,
transition that happened,
yeah,
it was unexpected.
exactly.
Because the first episode, 2 episodes you watch, it feels like a period film and
Yeah,
so
exactly.
dated, and it's supposed to be like that, 40s comedy. And I did not expect that. Like what followed, I did not expect that at all. But you're right. But it's
And
about capturing attention, it's about capturing the audiences, engaging all their senses to make sure they
yeah,
follow you to the next episode. So yeah, they've
exactly.
somewhat
Like
established that. And
WandaVision was like
mm,
visually, I thought it was mind blowing. I feel like it was so well done, like the set design and everything, and like this was like one of the first times where in episode 1 and 2, when it was the black and white setting, all
right.
the visual effects that were happening, that was all physical. So those
Mm.
were there's this one scene where she's in the kitchen cooking up stuff.
And it's
So
all
and there's the
wobbling.
constant pans floating. That
Yeah,
all was like physically there, which is great to know. And again, linking this to Disney Plus, I wouldn't have known that was done in that way if it wasn't for the exclusive content that was available on Disney Plus. The behind the scenes
right.
and these documentaries that they do. So I just think it's a complete win-win for
Right.
Marvel. I think it's genius.
Because if even if they put this content out on YouTube, exclusive
Mm.
footages and behind the scenes and blah and blah and blah, it's
Yeah,
very unlikely that you'll find the time to go through this. But now that you have a platform, an exclusive platform where all of this is put together under the Marvel category, by the way, you
yeah,
don't have to look for movies. You simply have to tap the button which says Marvel,
yeah,
and it's all
yeah.
there. You look for WandaVision, you'll find everything related to it. So I believe how the user interface is working and how convenient they've made it. It's so simple, it's so streamlined. It makes the consumer's experience,
So
I
smooth.
would say,
Yeah,
much easier, because you're there for
and
the
also,
movie. You're not there to navigate through videos and go through pages and look for the verified ones, unlike YouTube. What I'm trying
mm,
to say, anybody can review and you can find different montages, maybe not the verified ones. But right, over here you have a verified exclusive platform, and it's so streamlined, so it's convenient. And coming
One more thing before you continue, I was also gonna say, in terms of the whole YouTube and Disney Plus comparison, I don't know if this is just me. Please feel free to tell your side about it. But for me, I feel like there's the fact that I pay for Disney Plus, there's like this added pressure of me to go and visit the platform every day. Whereas YouTube, like I don't really, like I go on
unless and
there. If
until
I
you
don't
have
find
premium.
anything, then yeah, So I don't
Right.
know if you feel the same way, but
I feel the same way. I believe, in terms of a creator's approach, it's
mm,
YouTube as a platform allows a lot of creators to put their content out there. But again, we're talking about exclusivity over here. So Disney is exclusively catering to these very well established movies. And obviously,
mm,
you don't see bloggers and all these people on Netflix until they are big time and they make into these mini series or a
yeah,
feature, blah blah. But
yeah,
again, no disrespect to YouTube. I use YouTube at least like 5 6 hours a day because it's always going on in the background, or maybe I'm
yeah,
watching something very religiously, and I watch all kinds of reviews. Maybe
yeah.
I was like 5 10 minutes before we started, I was watching a review for The Godfather, and it's been 50
Mm.
years since the movie came out. I'm still watching reviews.
I really
That's
need
how
to watch that movie, brother. I
you
haven't seen it
really
yet.
should. You really should. It's the best. I
Yeah.
kid you not. You love it. Once you come back to India, we're gonna watch it together.
Mm.
But talking about no disrespect for YouTube, but again, it's very difficult for you to look through all those pages for that right video, for that verified video, for the right uh, you know uh, content creator. But okay, but moving on, I think they are doing a great job with Disney Plus, and because of Disney Plus, they are able to put so much content out there. People or characters you never expected would get so much screen time or get their own series or movies. Like Loki, less than a week it'll be out, where
Yes,
great.
so excited for that.
The story of Captain America, the story of Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes has taken a whole new meaning. Like if you would have
Yeah.
asked me 5 years ago how I feel about Bucky Barnes, looking at Winter Soldier, I am not sure. He did not
Really?
seem like a
I
very.
think I
I
think
absolutely
Captain
loved
America.
him, but
Yeah.
the heroes are glorified. Obviously, villains
Yeah.
have more fun, but heroes are glorified,
Yeah.
and that is why. Because and these enterprises have this moral obligation to promote good. And
Yeah.
because if you compare it to DC, how Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is portrayed, it's an R-rated movie, and the kind of impact it had on people, the kind of impact it had on the actor. And you look at Steve Rogers, right? You
Yeah.
look at Chris Evans, who played Steve Rogers. They have this moral obligation because, looking at their audiences and the kind of people, the kind of age group that consumes their content, but they have to be correct in terms of what is derived out of that movie, those morals, those feelings. And I think it's a very tough road to walk. And I
And
honestly,
also,
hmm, I
I think
sometimes feel that have the I don't have the adequate knowledge to comment on it, but
mm,
there's so much more to what goes on the screen.
I think a big part of this whole topic is the ownership behind these entities, right? So DC is obviously owned by Warner Brothers and
Mm.
that whole thing. But you have to remember that Marvel is it's owned by Disney. Disney, Mickey Mouse. It's it's what you show your kids, you know what I mean? So
Oh, Mickey.
there is this there is this thing that, I understand that though sometimes it may be annoying, I understand that they have to, they do have to put the heroes on like a pedestal and say, you know, this is the right thing to do, this is
Yeah,
the good
kids,
thing to do.
do your
Because
homework
yeah,
and take your
exactly.
vitamins.
Because obviously me and you love these movies, but a lot of kids are also watching these movies.
Exactly. I
So
think like comparatively, we've grown up and we have a different point of view. We comprehend things differently. And that is
mm,
why maybe we might not appreciate these movies like Joker for their, I would say, the character, no matter how psychotic it is, no matter how enticing the character might seem, but we might just, like you mentioned, people in Kenya appreciated Black Panther because of the scores, right?
Hmm.
The music and the whole general vibe it created
Just the
around it,
cultural
because
element of
the
it.
crafts were included. But
Hmm.
so somewhat I believe we have started dissecting cinema now. We look for specific things. You might, maybe it might be the color grading, it might be the CGI, it might be the music or the cinematography. Now
Hmm.
it's more, it's not just one movie. Now we realize why there are categories when it comes to award functions, why
Yeah, yeah,
supporting cast matters too, why people who've worked so hard. As a kid I used to skip credits all the time, every single time,
yeah.
at least when I had the option.
Now, as an artist, I think you appreciate it much more.
Exactly. I'm a designer. I'm a design student. I think I'm an artist. I would like to believe so.
I
But
think you are.
now, yeah, thank you. But now I realize the kind of hard work that goes in there. I mean, it's what? It's almost 3 a.m. in India. I
Hmm.
don't know what time it is in the UK, and we're doing this podcast, and we're so
Yeah.
passionate about it. It shows why
Hmm.
why people do this.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing to see. I was this is a little off topic, but linked to this whole idea about, it's not just a movie, there's so many parts involved. I just rewatched La La Land, which I think now is one of my favorite movies of all time. Non-Avengers, non-Marvel, of course. I just absolutely love that movie so much. But it's not only, it's so many things about it. The music, the cinematography is insane. It was Linus Sandgren, I think, who did the cinematography for that one. So I think it was amazing. And yeah, just as you said right now, um, and we didn't talk about this beforehand, which is kind of crazy, but I was also watching, these Oscar award acceptances and stuff like that,
I do
and
that all the
you really
time.
do you
Oh,
do
why,
realize
oh, why,
how
oh, why?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, you do realize how much bigger these things are than just a movie. Yeah.